We have spent tons of time in class reading books, reading poems, and watching videos about power, race, and gender. Well, I wanted to take what we have learned and explore it in a field I am more knowledgeable in, like sports. I will be going in depth to you about how race and gender affect the culture of the NBA and the WNBA. First, I want to say that the NBA and the WNBA are very different organizations, and that while they both showcase the same sport, their cultures are completely different. But to start, I will first start off with the NBA. The NBA is widely regarded as the most open and reforming of the major sports leagues. They have recently been very open and accommodating to their black players and have spoken out for recent issues, like supporting Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate. But I wanted to go in depth of the NBA's culture and how race especially affects the league. The NBA is about 80% black, and that number has been rising over the past few years. But as we can see that since the NBA is majority black, these players tend to take these issues more to heart, and with their platform they choose to shed a light on these issues. For example, Jaylen Brown, a star player for the Boston Celtics, has been very spoken out for Black Lives Matter, and has live streamed him going to Black Lives Matter protests, and the NBA was in full support. Especially in 2020, when the NBA went to the bubble in Florida for the playoffs, the NBA put Black Lives Matter on the courts, had awareness videos, showed players supporting, and advertised these players, and let players put positive phrases and words on their jerseys to support Black Lives Matter and other social issues. But Jaylen Brown, back to him, won the NBA Community Assist Award and was praised for his work protesting and his teaching on the issues that blacks faced in America. He's not the only player to believe in change, though. The NBA has a social justice coalition, which includes 15 players from the NBA, which was started during the Black Lives Movement of 2020. The players aimed to make change, and instead of just talking, they wanted to draw awareness to the laws that may defend racist acts. Although there are only 15 players on the board, the whole league is invested in these issues and the coalition. The culture of the NBA is clearly a culture that looks to solve problems rather than just play basketball. We will not just shut up and play basketball, as famous basketball player LeBron James said. Even players who aren't black know these issues are key. As veteran Kyle Korver, a white player, has written articles about how these issues affect everyone, not just blacks. But enough about the NBA. The WNBA is a very different league. They are also all for social justice, as the NBA and WNBA do a lot of things hand in hand. But when it comes to the players, there are many other issues, especially gender and sexuality issues. The biggest issue in the WNBA financially is salaries, as the NBA salary for an average player is only $120,000. That's a huge issue considering the average salary of an NBA player is almost $4.5 million. Leaders in the WNBA are constantly campaigning for a lower gap between pay. For example, Skylar Diggins. She has said that the pay gap can be reduced if the WNBA players just made the same percentage of revenue from the WNBA as NBA players make from their league, as WNBA players make 30% of their revenue from the WNBA, while NBA players are making half. But the culture of the WNBA is trying to solve different issues, as the NBA has little problems when it comes to finance, so they are able to focus on those other issues. But financial problems aside, the NBA has a positive culture inside the league, like sexuality and identity, for example. Many WNBA players have spoken out about their sexuality, and the majority of the league today is lesbian or bisexual. The WNBA does not always used to be so inclusive, but over time, as many more athletes started to come out, the WNBA became one of the most inclusive and safe leagues in sports today. The WNBA players feel safe in this league, and the league gives them a safe place to find themselves sexually as well. These leagues have connected me to our reading this year, especially in Their Eyes Were Watching God and the WNBA, about how Janie, the main character in the book, struggles with her sexuality and gender in the book, just like these WNBA players have in their league. They have gone through the struggle just like Janie did and have become more comfortable and confident with themselves in the league. But to end this off, the way that race affects the NBA is that these players have more of a connection to these social issues, and that in turn makes the players more outspoken and makes them ask for these issues. It creates a more humanitarian culture in that these players protest and speak about these issues. It ends up making them more passionate and creates a very outspoken yet ambitious culture to solve these issues. As for the WNBA, the issues revolving around gender and sexuality make the WNBA a safer place for players and creates an inclusive culture, which is a positive outlook on the sexuality in the WNBA. I could go on about this for a long time, but thank you for listening to the short stint I had on the basketball leagues of the world. Thank you.